My wife insisted that I travel to Turkey alone. She paid for everything, the flight, the hotel, the excursions. $18,000 in total for a trip I never asked for. She drove me to the airport, carried my suitcase to the check-in counter, hugged me quickly, and left way too fast. Linda was strangely anxious to leave. She kept checking her watch every 30 seconds. She checked her phone as if she were expecting an urgent call. When I asked her if everything was okay, she smiled and said yes, but her hands were trembling, and her eyes didn't really look at me. They looked through me, as if I were already gone. As soon as we said goodbye, I was checking my bag when a cleaning staff member grabbed my arm. Hard, with desperation. "Sir, do not board that flight," she told me. "Come with me. You need to see this." I didn't know her. I had never seen her in my life, but there was something in her voice that made me drop my passport, something in her eyes that made me forget for a second that my flight was about to leave. She showed me the screen of her phone. I saw my wife's name. I saw messages. I saw numbers. I saw words that didn't make sense yet, but were already tearing me apart on the inside. That was 3 hours ago. Now I am sitting in the waiting area of an empty terminal, trying to understand how my entire life just changed in less than 5 minutes. My flight has already taken off without me. My wife believes I am at 30,000 feet crossing the Atlantic, but I am here, motionless, holding a phone that isn't mine and looking at proof of something I never imagined possible. Let me go back a bit. Let me tell you how I got here. How a 52-year-old man with a 8-year marriage and a perfectly boring life ended up standing in an airport being saved by a stranger. My name is Arthur. I'm a CPA, a certified public accountant. I've worked in the same firm for almost 30 years. I audit balance sheets, file tax returns, and help small businesses keep their finances in order. It's not an exciting job, but it is stable, predictable, safe. Linda and I met in college. She was studying fashion design. I was studying accounting. We fell in love at a boring party where we were both uncomfortable and bored. It was easy, natural, no drama. We married young, bought a small house in the suburbs that we managed to pay off over the years. She opened a boutique. She sells clothes to middle-class women. She does well. We aren't rich, but we don't lack anything either. We have enough, or so I thought. 3 weeks ago, Linda came home with a strange smile. She had been quiet for the last few months. Distant. I attributed it to stress at the boutique, to age, to those midlife crises everyone says arrive when you turn 50. But that night she seemed different, excited, almost euphoric. "I have a surprise for you," she told me. "Something I've been planning for a while. You're going to Turkey. Just 2 weeks, all expenses paid. You deserve it." I stood there looking at her, not understanding. Turkey. I had never talked about Turkey. I had never mentioned wanting to travel alone. In fact, I hated traveling alone. But she insisted. She said I needed a break, that I had worked too hard, that it would do me good to take some time for myself. Something about her insistence made me uncomfortable, but I said nothing. You don't reject a paid trip. You don't question it when your wife gives you an expensive gift. So I accepted. I said yes, and for 3 weeks, I prepared for a trip I never wanted to take. Linda took care of everything. She bought the ticket, booked the hotel, printed the itinerary, even packed my suitcase. I just had to show up at the airport. She would drive me, ensure everything was in order, and she did. This morning she woke me up early. We ate breakfast in silence. We got into the car. She drove fast, faster than normal. Every time I spoke to her, she answered with monosyllables. Yes, no, we're almost there. When we arrived at the airport, she almost jumped out of the car, pulling my suitcase from the trunk before I could. She pushed me gently toward the entrance. "Come on, Arthur, I don't want you to miss the flight." There was something weird about all of it. Something my brain was registering, but my heart didn't want to accept. Linda had never been like this, never so anxious, so nervous, so desperate for me to leave. At the check-in counter, she hugged me fast. Too fast. "Have an incredible time," she told me. "See you in 2 weeks." And she left without looking back, without waiting for me to go through TSA security. She just left. I stood there with my passport in my hand, feeling that something wasn't right, but I didn't know what. So I kept going, checked my bag, went through security, headed to the gate, and just as I was about to board, A woman in a custodial uniform appeared out of nowhere and pulled my arm. "Sir," she said urgently, "do not get on that plane, please. You need to come with me right now." I looked at her as if she were crazy. "Excuse me," I said. "I think there's a mistake. I don't know you." But she didn't let go. She squeezed my arm harder, her eyes filled with tears. "I'm Sarah," she said, "your distant cousin. We saw each other years ago at your Uncle Gilbert's funeral. I know you don't remember me, but I recognized you, and I need you to listen to me, because if you get on that plane, your life is going to be destroyed." The flight announcement rang out again. Final call for passengers bound for Istanbul. Boarding at gate 12. My brain told me to run, to get on the plane, to leave this woman behind, but my feet didn't move. Sarah took out her phone, showed me the screen, and there was Linda's name in a WhatsApp group, a group called Operation Freedom. And there were messages, many messages talking about me, about my trip, about 14 hours in the air, about bank accounts, about a house, about a man named Robert. I felt the floor moving beneath my feet. Sarah held me by the arm. "Come," she said. "There is a more private place. You need to see everything before deciding what to do." I followed her. I don't know why. Maybe because a part of me already knew. I had already noticed the signs. I had already felt that something was wrong. I just hadn't wanted to see it. Sarah took me to a corner of the terminal behind a column, away from the cameras. She sat on the floor, and I sat next to her. I was shaking. My whole body was shaking. "I work cleaning offices," she explained. "Yesterday I was at a title company downtown. I found documents in the shredder bin, documents they were going to throw away. I read them because I saw your name, Arthur Miller, and I remembered you from that time at the funeral, so I kept them. And then I looked for more information and found the WhatsApp group, and I realized what they were planning." She showed me her phone again. This time she let me read slowly, word for word, message for message. And with every line I read, I felt myself sinking deeper into an abyss I didn't know if I could get out of. The messages were from 2 months ago. The group had 3 people: Linda, a number saved as Robert My Love, and a woman named Jennifer, who appeared to be a paralegal or closing agent. I read the first message and felt the air leave my lungs. Linda had written, "I already bought the ticket. It leaves January 12th at 6 a.m., 14 hours of flight, plus a 4-hour layover in Madrid. He doesn't land in Istanbul until 11 p.m. their time. We have the whole day free." Robert replied, "Perfect, my love. Jennifer already has everything ready. As soon as you confirm he took off, we start. At 9 a.m. we go to the bank. At 11 a.m. we sign the sale of the house. At 2 p.m. we'll be on the highway. When he lands in Turkey, we'll already be 300 miles away." Jennifer wrote, "I have all the documents prepared. The power of attorney that Arthur signed last year serves us perfectly. He authorized Linda to sell property in case of emergency. Technically, it's legal. By the time he realizes and wants to make a claim, weeks will have passed, and you two will already be settled in the new city with new identities." I kept reading. There were screenshots of our joint bank account. $240,000 saved over 28 years. Screenshots of the deed to our house, valued at $450,000. Together, it totaled nearly $750,000. My entire life converted into numbers on a phone screen. Linda had sent a photo. It was of a modern condo with huge windows. "This will be our new home," she wrote. "I rented it with a fake name. 3 bedrooms, ocean view. No one will find us here. We'll start from zero, Robert, like we always wanted." Robert responded with a heart emoji and then wrote, "I can't believe we'll soon be free. 25 years waiting for this moment. Since we met at that business conference and you knew I was the love of your life, every second of waiting was worth it. My Linda." 25 years. They had been planning this for 25 years. 3 years after Linda and I got married, she had met Robert. She had already decided he was her future, and I was just the fool working like a donkey to give her the life she needed while she planned to rob me of everything. Sarah touched my shoulder. "I am so sorry," she told me. "I know this must be devastating, but I needed you to know. I couldn't let you get on that plane." I gave her back the phone. My hands were shaking so much I almost dropped it. I felt nauseous. I felt like I was going to vomit right there on the airport floor. 28 years of marriage. 28 years believing we had a life together. And it was all a lie. I thought about the last few months, how Linda had been distant, how she didn't touch me anymore, didn't seek me out, didn't look me in the eye when we talked. I thought it was age. I thought it was normal, that all marriages go through that after so many years. But no, it wasn't normal. It was guilt. It was the weight of 25 years of lies crushing her from the inside. And instead of confessing, instead of asking for a divorce like a decent person, she decided to rob me. She decided to destroy me. She decided to send me to the other side of the world so she could disappear with everything we had. Sarah kept talking. "I have more screenshots," she said. "There is a document that Jennifer sent to the group. It's the sales contract for your house. It's already signed by Linda, and it has your signature too, forged using the power of attorney you signed last year when Linda said she needed to sell a small plot of land of her mother's and that you couldn't go to the title company because you had work." I remembered that day. Linda arrived with some papers. She said she needed my signature, that it was to sell a piece of land her mother had inherited, that the notary needed my authorization because we were married with community property. I signed without reading. I trusted, like I always trusted, and she used that trust as a weapon. She took that document and turned it into the key to steal everything from me. How intelligent, how calculating, how monstrous. The loudspeaker announced that the gate for my flight had closed. The plane was taking off without me. Linda, at this moment, must be receiving the notification that the flight had departed on time. She must be smiling, calling Robert, saying, "He took off. We can start." But I wasn't on that plane. I was here, sitting on the floor of an airport with a stranger who had just saved my life. And now I had to decide what to do with this information, with this betrayal, with this pain that was splitting me in two. Sarah showed me more messages. Linda had written yesterday, "I'm excited and terrified at the same time. 25 years is a long time to wait, but I also feel guilty. Arthur isn't a bad person. He's just boring, predictable. He doesn't make me feel alive like you, Robert." Robert responded, "Don't feel guilty. He'll be fine. He's an accountant. He'll find work. He'll rent an apartment. Continue with his boring life. We deserve to be happy. We deserve to live the life we always wanted. Without strings. Without responsibilities. Without people holding us back. Without people holding us back." That's what he called me. A person who held them back. Someone in the way. Someone disposable. After 28 years working together, building together, dreaming together, I was just a hindrance that had to be removed. I thought about all the times I came home late because I was working overtime to pay for Linda's boutique. All the times I canceled plans with friends because she needed me to accompany her to see vendors. All the times I put her dreams before mine. And this is how she paid me back. With treason, with theft, with abandonment. Sarah handed me a tissue. I hadn't realized I was crying. The tears fell on their own, silent, bitter. It wasn't crying from sadness. It was crying from rage, from humiliation, from disbelief. "There is more," Sarah told me. "The documents I found at the title agency. I have them in my bag. I took them out of the trash and kept them. They are signed, dated, ready to be presented today. If you don't do something in the next few hours, Linda is going to sell your house, empty your account, and disappear." I stood up. My legs barely held me, but I stood up. "I need to see those documents," I told her. "I need to see everything. Every paper, every proof, every lie." Sarah nodded. "I have them in my locker. It's 5 minutes from here. But, Arthur, I need you to promise me something. Don't do anything crazy. Don't hurt yourself or anyone else. What Linda did is horrible, unforgivable, but you have to keep it together. You have to be smart. You have to win this the right way." She was right. I couldn't break down. No. Right now, Linda was counting on me being in the air, helpless, incommunicado, far away. But I was here, awake, conscious, and with all the evidence in my hands. She didn't know her plan had just exploded before it started. I followed Sarah through the airport corridors. Every step hurt. Every breath burned. But I kept walking because now I had a mission. Stop Linda. Recover what was mine, and make sure she paid for every lie she told me for 25 years. Sarah opened her locker in the employee area. She pulled out a crumpled green folder. It was full of folded papers, some with coffee stains, others wrinkled as if someone had thrown them in the trash and she had rescued them. She handed them to me carefully, as if they were explosives. "Here is everything," she said. "Read it calmly. I'm going to bring you a glass of water. You look very pale." I sat on an uncomfortable plastic chair. I opened the folder. The first document was a sales contract. Our house. The house we bought 22 years ago. The house where we celebrated every Christmas, every birthday, every anniversary. It was being sold for $450,000, a quick cash sale. Linda had found a desperate buyer. The signature at the end of the document was mine, or so it seemed. But I never signed that paper. I never saw that contract. That signature was a copy of the signature I put on the power of attorney last year. They had scanned it, copied it, pasted it digitally, and there I was, authorizing the sale of my own house without knowing it. The buyer was a corporation, Pacific Investments LLC. I looked it up on my phone. The company existed, but it was a shell. Registered 3 months ago with a single shareholder, a man named Robert Bowers. My wife's lover was the buyer. He was buying my house with money he probably took from some similar fraud. Or worse, perhaps with money from our own bank account that they planned to drain this morning. The next document was a wire transfer authorization signed by me, authorizing Linda to perform transfers exceeding $100,000. Another forgery, another lie, another nail in the coffin. There was a printed itinerary. 9 a.m. Central Bank Main Branch. Transfer of $240,000 from joint account to personal account of Linda Miller. 11 a.m. Prestige Title Company. Signing of closing deeds. Handover of keys. 2 p.m. Depart by car toward Myrtle Beach. 7 hours driving. Arrival at midnight. New life. Everything was planned to the minute like a military operation. Linda had left nothing to chance, except one thing. She didn't count on a cleaning lady checking the trash at a law office. She didn't count on that employee knowing me. She didn't count on her having a conscience and saving me. Sarah returned with the water. I drank the whole glass in one gulp. My throat was dry as paper. My hands were shaking. She sat in front of me. Her eyes showed compassion, but also determination. "Mr. Arthur," she said, "it is 8:30 inches the morning. In 30 minutes, Linda is going to be at the bank. You have to act fast. You have to call someone, a lawyer, the police, someone who can stop this." I took out my phone, looked at the screen. I had 3 messages from Linda. The first said, "You must be on the plane by now. So exciting. Enjoy every moment." The second said, "I love you. I will always love you. Thank you for these beautiful years." The third said, "Take care of yourself. See you soon. Lies." She didn't plan to see me ever again. Those messages were her goodbye, her way of closing the chapter of her life that included a boring and predictable husband, an obstacle she finally managed to remove. I called my brother David. He's a lawyer, specializing in family law. He lives in the same city, 20 minutes from the airport. He answered on the third ring. "Arthur," he said, "what are you doing calling me? Shouldn't you be on the plane?" "I need you to come to the airport," I told him. "Now. It's urgent. Linda is robbing me. She has everything planned. I need your help." There was a silence. Then I heard the sound of keys. "I'm leaving right now," he said. "Don't move from where you are. I'll be there in 15 minutes. I hung up. I looked at Sarah. She nodded. "You did well calling him," she said. "Now you have to prepare yourself, because when your wife finds out you aren't on that plane, everything is going to explode, and you have to be ready to face her." I thought about Linda, about her face this morning when she dropped me at the airport. That urgency, that nervousness, that rush for me to leave. Now it all made sense. It wasn't anxiety for my trip. It was anxiety for her plan, for her escape, for her new life with Robert. I remembered the last few weeks, the details I ignored, the signs I didn't want to see. Linda arriving home late, saying she had inventory at the boutique. Linda speaking on the phone in a low voice and hanging up when I entered the room. Linda buying new clothes she never wore around me. Expensive, elegant clothes, as if she were preparing for something important. I remembered the night she suggested the Turkey trip. How she had arrived with the printed itinerary, with the ticket already purchased, with everything decided. She didn't ask me if I wanted to go. She didn't ask if I thought it was a good idea. She just told me I was going. And I accepted because I thought it was a gesture of love, a gift, a way of telling me she valued me. But it wasn't love. It was strategy. It was logistics. It was the easiest way to get me out of the way during the crucial hours when she would destroy everything we had built. I thought about Robert, a man I didn't know, a man who had been in my wife's life for 25 years. 25 years of lies, of secret meetings, of hidden messages, of a double life that Linda managed with such skill that I never suspected anything. I wondered how many times they had seen each other. How many times Linda left the house saying she was going to the boutique and actually went to meet him. How many times she kissed me on the cheek after being in the arms of another man. How many times she slept next to me dreaming of the day she could finally be with Robert without hiding. And the worst of all, the most painful thing, was realizing that I was never enough. That from the beginning, from 25 years ago, Linda had already decided her future wasn't with me. That I was just a means, a provider, someone who gave her stability while she waited for the perfect moment to escape. David arrived running, entering the employee area like a hurricane. He saw me sitting with the folder in my hands, and his expression changed from concern to horror. He sat next to me, took the folder, and started to read. "Holy," he murmured. "This is fraud. This is forgery of documents. This is grand larceny. Linda can go to jail for this." Sarah introduced herself. She explained how she had found the documents, how she had recognized me, how she had stopped me before I got on the plane. David listened to her with attention, then looked at her with something resembling admiration. "You saved my brother's life," he told her. "Not just financially, but emotionally. If he had boarded that plane and landed in Istanbul to discover he had no house and no money, I don't know if he could have recovered." David took out his phone. He started making calls. First to a colleague specializing in fraud, then to another working in criminal law, then to the bank. He explained the situation, asked them to freeze any activity on my account, not to authorize any transfer until I appeared in person with ID. The bank employee told him that a woman was already there, that she had arrived 5 minutes ago, that she was insisting on making an urgent wire transfer. David told them to stop her, not to let her do anything, that the police were on their way. He hung up and looked at me. "Linda is at the bank right now," he said, "trying to empty your account, but we blocked it. She won't be able to take a single cent. Now we are going to the title company. We are going to stop the sale of the house. And then we are going to press charges." I stood up. My legs were shaking, but I stood up. Sarah touched my shoulder. "You can do this," she told me. "I know it hurts. I know it's devastating, but you are stronger than you think, and you have the truth on your side." I nodded. I couldn't speak. If I opened my mouth, I was going to scream. I was going to cry. I was going to collapse. So I just nodded and followed my brother toward the airport exit, toward the battle that was about to begin. We got into David's car, a gray sedan that smelled of coffee and legal papers. He drove fast through the city streets. I sat in the passenger seat looking out the window without really seeing anything. My mind was elsewhere, at the bank, where Linda at this moment must be facing the reality that her plan had failed. I imagined her face when the teller told her the account was frozen. I imagined her confusion, her panic. Maybe she thought it was a system error. Maybe she asked to speak to the manager. Maybe she still didn't understand that I knew everything, that I had discovered her betrayal before it was too late. David was talking on the phone, coordinating with his colleague who was already on his way to the title company. They needed to halt the signing of the deeds. They needed to invalidate the power of attorney. They needed to make sure my house remained mine. We arrived at the bank in 10 minutes. It was a large branch downtown, a modern glass building. Automatic doors, strong air conditioning. We entered quickly. David spoke with the manager who was already waiting for us. "Your wife is in the back office," he told us. "She is very upset. She says she needs to make the transfer, that it's urgent, that she has a family emergency. But we followed your instructions. We haven't authorized anything. I want to see her," I said. It was the first thing I had said since leaving the airport. "I want to see her now." The manager hesitated. He looked at David. My brother nodded. "We'll go with you," he said, "but keep calm. Don't say anything that could complicate things later. We walked down a long hallway, white walls, photos of happy families in cheap frames, ads for credit cards and mortgages. At the end was an office with a glass door, and there was Linda sitting in front of an employee's desk, dressed in a cream-colored outfit I hadn't seen before. Elegant, expensive, probably bought for this occasion, for the day her new life would begin. Her hair was styled differently, more groomed. She was wearing makeup, something she rarely used. She looked beautiful, and that hurt me more than I expected. She was talking to the employee, gesturing, insisting. "I don't understand why I can't access my own account," she was saying. "It's my money, mine and my husband's, and I need to transfer it now." I opened the door. Linda turned her head, and when she saw me, her face transformed. First confusion, then shock, then absolute terror. She stood up so fast the chair fell backward. "Arthur," she whispered, "what are you doing here? You should be on the plane." "You should be. I should be at 30,000 feet, I interrupted her. "So you could rob me of everything. So you could empty our account and sell our house and disappear with Robert. That's what should be happening, right, Linda?" Her face went white. She opened her mouth, but no sound came out. Her hands were trembling. She reached for her bag, probably wanting to take out her phone, wanting to call Robert, to warn him that the plan had failed. David stepped forward. "Mrs. Linda Miller," he said with a formal voice, "I am informing you that the bank account you share with my brother has been frozen due to suspicion of fraud. Any attempt at transfer or withdrawal will be considered additional evidence against you. I suggest you do not say anything else without the presence of a lawyer." Linda looked at me, her eyes filled with tears, but they weren't tears of regret. They were tears of frustration, of rage, of someone whose perfect plan had just been destroyed. "How did you find out?" she asked. Her voice sounded broken. "How could you know?" "A cleaning lady," I answered. "She found your documents in the trash at a law firm. She recognized me. She stopped me before getting on the plane. She showed me everything. The messages, the plans, the lies. 25 years of lies, Linda. 25 years with Robert while I worked like an idiot to give you the life you wanted." She shook her head. "It's not like that," she said. "It's not what you think. I was going to leave you something. I wasn't going to leave you on the street. I was going to transfer 50,000 new account in your name so you could start over. 50,000, I repeated. Of the $240,000 we had saved, you were going to leave me 20% of our savings? Of my money? Of the money I earned working 12 hours a day for 28 years? And I'm supposed to thank you?" Linda let herself fall into the chair. She put her face in her hands. "You don't love me anymore," she whispered. "You haven't loved me in years. We are only together out of habit, out of comfort. I deserve to be happy, Arthur. I deserved a chance to live the life I wanted." "Then you should have asked me for a divorce," I said. "You should have been honest. You should have given me the chance to continue my life with dignity. But no, you preferred to rob me. You preferred to destroy me. You preferred to send me to the other side of the world so I couldn't defend myself." The bank manager entered the office. He was carrying papers. "Mr. Miller," he said, "here are the records for the last 6 months. Your wife has been withdrawing small amounts of cash, $1,000 here, $2,000 there. Never enough for you to notice on the monthly statements, but in total, she has withdrawn almost $30,000 in the last few months." I looked at Linda. She didn't deny anything. She just looked at me with those eyes full of tears that no longer moved me. All that money had gone to prepare her escape, to rent the condo in Myrtle Beach, to buy new clothes, to pay corrupt lawyers, to build her new life while destroying ours. David spoke again. "Linda, I need you to hand over the house keys and any document you have related to the sale. My brother is going back to his home today, and you are not going to be there." "But it's my house too," Linda protested. "I have a right to be there." "You lost that right when you tried to sell it behind the back of its rightful owner," David said. "And if you don't hand over the keys voluntarily, I am going to ask for a restraining order. You decide." Linda reached into her bag, pulled out a keychain, and dropped it on the desk with a metallic clatter. "There they are," she said bitterly. "I hope you're happy in that empty, boring house. I hope you enjoy your predictable life without me. I walked up to her, bent down until I was at her eye level. "My predictable life," I told her quietly, "is the life we built together. The life you asked me to build. I worked, I saved, I sacrificed my dreams to support yours, and this is how you pay me. Not with honesty, not with respect, with betrayal and theft." I stood up, took the keys. David took the documents. We left the office, leaving Linda sitting there, crying alone, exactly how she had planned to leave me on the other side of the world. In the bank parking lot, I took a deep breath. The cold morning air burned my lungs. David put his hand on my shoulder. "You did good, brother," he told me. "I know it hurts. I know it's horrible. But you did good." "It's not over yet," I said. "We still have to go to the title company. We have to make sure they can't do anything with the house, and we have to find Robert. He has to pay for this too." David nodded. "I already sent James to the title company. He's the best real estate attorney I know. He's going to invalidate everything. And as for Robert, we already have his full name, his address, his shell company. The police are going to look for him. He won't get very far." We got into the car. While David drove toward the title company, I looked at the keys to my house in my hand. Those keys I had carried for 22 years. Now they seemed to weigh tons because that house wasn't going to be the same anymore. It wasn't going to be our home. It was going to be just my house, empty, silent, full of memories of a life that turned out to be a lie. I thought about all the nights Linda and I ate dinner together in that house, all the mornings we had breakfast in the kitchen planning our day, all the weekends we spent watching movies in the living room. Everything seemed real. Everything seemed genuine, but for her, it was just time she had to endure until she could escape. My phone rang. It was an unknown number, I answered. A male voice spoke. "Arthur Miller?" he asked. "This is Detective Miller. Your brother filed a fraud complaint. I need you to come to the station to give a statement and bring all the evidence you have." "I'm on my way," I replied. "I have documents, messages, everything." "Perfect," said the detective. "And Mr. Miller, I want you to know that what your wife attempted to do is a felony. If we manage to prove everything, she is going to face serious charges, possibly prison. Are you prepared for that?" "She tried to destroy me," I said. "She tried to steal everything from me. Yes, I am prepared for her to face the consequences." I hung up. I looked at David. "We have to go to the police station." "After the title company," I told him. "I know," he responded. "It's all coordinated. Today is going to be a long day, brother. But at the end of this day, you are going to have your life back. It won't be the life you had, but it will be yours, and that is what matters." I nodded. He was right. My life would never be the same again. But at least it would be mine. We arrived at the Prestige Title Company at 10:30 inches the morning. It was an old 2-story building with a stone facade. David parked the car in front of the entrance. Before getting out, he looked at me seriously. "James is already inside," he told me. "He already spoke with the owner. He already explained the situation. But we need you to be present, to sign documents, to formally declare that you never authorized the sale of your house. Are you ready for this?" I nodded. I didn't trust my voice. If I spoke, it would crack. It would reveal how shattered I felt inside. And I needed to maintain composure. I needed to be strong until this ended. We entered the office. The place smelled of old paper and reheated coffee. There was an elderly receptionist who looked at us with curiosity. David identified himself. She pointed us to the stairs. "Second floor, office 3. We went up. Every step weighed on me. My legs felt like concrete. On the second floor, there was a narrow hallway with dark wood doors. Office 3 had the door open. Inside was a man of about 60 with glasses and a brown suit. It was James. "Arthur," he said, extending his hand. "I am so sorry for what you are going through, but I want you to know we are going to resolve this. The title officer is already reviewing the documents. We already identified the irregularities. Your signature was forged, and that invalidates the whole process." I sat in a chair in front of the officer's desk. He was a bald man with a serious expression. He had the sale documents in front of him. He was comparing them with other papers. He looked up when he saw me. "Mr. Miller," he told me, "I regret to inform you that someone tried to use your identity to commit fraud. The signature on these documents does not match your signature in our records or on your driver's license. It is a quite good imitation, but it is detectable. I am going to annul the entire process, and I am going to report this to the proper authorities. Thank you, I said. My voice sounded hollow, distant, as if it came from another person. The officer pushed some papers toward me. I need you to sign here, and here, and here. These are sworn affidavits that you never authorized this transaction, that your signature was forged, that you are a victim of attempted fraud. I signed once, twice, 3 times. My real signature, the one I had used for 52 years. The one Linda had studied, copied, forged to rob me. The officer stamped the documents. This remains filed as attempted fraud, he told me. Your property is protected. No one can sell it without your physical presence and your official identification. And I am going to send a formal report to the district attorney. James collected copies of everything. David took photos with his phone. I just looked at those stamped papers thinking about how much effort Linda had put into this, how much time planning, calculating, lying, all to steal what belonged to me. We left the title company. The sun was high. It was getting warm. The city kept moving as if nothing had happened. Cars, people, normal life. But my life was no longer normal. It never would be again. David took me to the police station. It was a gray building on the outskirts of downtown. We entered through the main door. An officer directed us to an office on the 2nd floor. Detective Miller was waiting for us. He was a man of about 40, strong build, tired expression. He offered me a seat. I took out the folder Sarah had given me at the airport. I handed it to him. These are the proofs, I said. Messages, documents, screenshots, everything you need to understand what my wife tried to do. The detective opened the folder, read in silence. His expression hardened with every page. After 10 minutes, he closed the folder and looked at me. Mr. Miller, he said, this is enough to proceed with criminal charges. Fraud, forgery of documents, conspiracy to commit grand larceny. Your wife could face between 5 and 15 years in prison, and her accomplice too. This Robert Bowers, we already have his information. We are going to look for him today. 15 years, I repeated. The idea of Linda in prison turned my stomach. Despite everything, despite what she did to me, I couldn't imagine her locked up. I know, said the detective, as if reading my mind. She is your wife. You have feelings for her. But try to see this objectively. She didn't just try to rob you. She planned to destroy your life, leave you homeless, without savings, in a foreign country, without a way to get back quickly. That isn't a mistake. It is calculated cruelty. He was right. I knew he was right. But the pain didn't disappear just because logic said so. I need you to tell me everything from the beginning, said the detective, taking out a recorder. With details, everything you remember from the last few months. Any strange behavior, any lie that now makes sense. Everything is important. I spoke for an hour. I told him about the Turkey trip I never asked for, about how Linda insisted I go alone, about her nervousness this morning, about Sarah at the airport, about the messages, about the documents, about everything. The detective took notes, asked questions, clarified details. When I finished, he turned off the recorder and sighed. Mr. Miller, he told me, I am going to be honest with you. I have seen many fraud cases, but this is particularly cruel. Your wife didn't act out of desperation. She didn't do it because she needed the money to survive. She did it out of greed, out of selfishness. And that makes her more culpable. I stood up. My legs barely responded. What's next? I asked. We are going to issue an arrest warrant for Linda Miller. And Robert Bowers, he responded. Probably this very afternoon. I recommend you do not go to your house today. Let us handle this. When we arrest them, there will be a confrontation, and you don't need to be there for that. I want to be there. I said, I need to see it. I need to see that this is real, that it's not a nightmare I'm going to wake up from. The detective looked at me with compassion. I understand, he told me. If that is what you need to close this chapter, then okay. But stay back. Let us do our job. We left the station. David suggested we go get something to eat. I wasn't hungry. I hadn't eaten anything since last night, but the idea of food gave me nausea, he insisted. "You need to keep your strength up, brother," he told me. "There is still a lot to do." We went to a diner near my house. I ordered coffee and toast. I couldn't finish even half. David ate in silence. Every so often he looked at me as if he wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Finally, he spoke. "I never liked Linda, you know. I always felt there was something fake about her, something calculating. But I never said anything because I saw you were happy, or that's what I thought. Now I wonder if you were really happy with her." I thought about his question. In 28 years of marriage, in thousands of shared days, was I happy? There were genuine moments of happiness, or at least I thought so. But now everything was contaminated. Every memory was poisoned by the truth. Linda never loved me. I was never enough. I was just convenient. "I don't know," I answered finally. "I don't know what was real and what was acting anymore." My phone rang. It was Detective Miller. "Mr. Miller," he said, "we just arrested Robert Bowers. We found him at a hotel near the airport. He was waiting for your wife's call to leave town. When we informed him that Linda was being detained, he collapsed. He already confessed everything. He says it was her idea, that he just followed the plan." "Of course," I said bitterly. "Now he plays the victim." Now it turns out Linda manipulated him as if he hadn't voluntarily participated in destroying my life. "We are on our way to your house," said the detective, "to arrest your wife. If you want to be present, arrive in 30 minutes. But remember, stay back. I'm on my way," I said. David paid the bill. We left quickly. In the car, I prepared myself mentally for what was coming. Seeing Linda arrested, seeing her life destroyed as she tried to destroy mine, I should feel satisfaction, justice, but I only felt emptiness. We arrived at my house. There were 2 patrol cars parked outside. Several neighbors were looking from their windows, gossip to share at dinner. The Miller marriage finally exploded. We always knew something was wrong. Detective Miller was standing next to his car. When he saw me, he approached. "She is inside," he told me. "Alone. She tried to flee when she saw the patrol cars, but we stopped her. Now she is in the living room, waiting. I want to talk to her," I said. "Before you take her away, I need to tell her something." The detective hesitated. Then he nodded. 5 minutes, he told me. "No more. And an officer will be present for your safety." I walked toward the door of my house. Those doors I had crossed thousands of times now seemed like the entrance to another world. A world where everything I thought I knew was a lie. I entered my house for the last time as the man I had been for 28 years. The living room was the same as always, gray sofa, coffee table with old magazines, photos on the walls, our wedding, beach vacations, anniversaries. Every photo now was a reminder of the lies. Linda was sitting on the sofa. Her hands were in her lap. Her makeup was running. She had cried. When she saw me, she looked up. Her eyes were red, but there were no tears anymore, only exhaustion, defeat. An officer stood by the door, young, uncomfortable. He looked away as if he wanted to give me privacy, but he couldn't. The detective had given me 5 minutes. I needed to use them well. I sat in the armchair opposite Linda. There was 3 feet of distance between us. It could have been an ocean. We were no longer the same people who had lived in this house. We were strangers united only by legal documents and wasted years. "Why?" I asked her. My voice sounded calm, too calm. "Why didn't you just ask for a divorce? Why did it have to be like this?" Linda took a deep breath. "Because I didn't want to split everything in half," she said. "Because I knew if I asked for a divorce, you would keep half the money, half the house. And it wasn't enough. Robert and I wanted to start right, no debt, no complications. We needed everything. Everything," I repeated. "My 28 years of work, my savings, my house, my dignity. All that was yours to take? You never would have used it," she said with a tone almost of justification. "You were going to stay in this boring city, in your boring job, living your boring life. The money was just going to sit there in the bank doing nothing. We were going to use it, to live, to be happy." I laughed. It was a bitter laugh, dry, without humor. "So, I didn't deserve to be happy?" I asked. "I didn't deserve to live my life how I wanted, just because my happiness wasn't exciting enough for you?" "You were never happy with me," said Linda. "I never saw you really excited. I never saw you passionate. You just existed. You went to work, came home, we ate dinner, watched TV, slept, day after day, year after year. That isn't life, Arthur. That is existing, and you decided that I didn't deserve even that, I said. You decided I deserved to lose everything, to be left with nothing in another country, alone, destroyed. I was going to leave you. 50,000. She protested weakly. It was to gonna leave you on the street. 50,000 of the $240,000 we had, I said. Money I earned, that I saved, that I sacrificed vacations and comforts to gather. And you were going to keep the rest as if you had earned it, as if you had the right. I work too, she said, raising her voice. My boutique generated income. I helped pay the bills. I wasn't a kept woman. Your boutique that I financed, I reminded her. The initial $40,000 came out of my account. Every time you had cash flow problems, I put up the money. Every time you needed new inventory, I paid. Your boutique exists because I worked 12 hours a day for years to give you that opportunity. Linda stayed silent. She had no arguments. She knew it was true. Everything we had, everything she enjoyed, came from the work she considered boring, from the man she considered predictable. 25 years with Robert, I said, changing the subject. Since 3 years after we got married, all this time lying, cheating, living a double life. How could you do it? How could you kiss me every night knowing you loved him? Because it wasn't all a lie, she said in a low voice. There were real moments with you. Good moments. But they weren't enough. Robert made me feel alive, made me feel desired, special. You made me feel safe, stable. But it's not the same. So, you used my stability while you waited for your opportunity to escape, I said. You used me like a bank, like a temporary house, like something disposable. Don't look at it like that, she said, frustrated. I didn't want to hurt you. That's why I planned everything so it would be fast. So when you found out, it would already be done. You wouldn't have to see me. You wouldn't have to confront me. You would just move on. How convenient for you, I said. You didn't have to see my face when I discovered I had no home. You didn't have to hear my voice when I called the bank and discovered I had no money. You didn't have to carry the guilt because you would be 300 miles away starting your perfect new life with Robert. She didn't answer, just looked at the floor, defeated. You know what the worst part is? I asked her. The worst part isn't that you robbed me or that you planned to destroy me. The worst part is that for 25 years I trusted you completely. I never doubted you. I never checked your phone. I never questioned where you were because I believed you were my partner, the person who would choose to be on my side no matter what. And it turns out you never were. I tried to love you, whispered Linda. I really tried. But I couldn't, and I didn't know how to tell you without hurting you. So I decided it was easier to disappear. Easier for you, I said. Not for me. You never thought about me, really. How it would affect me. How it would destroy me. You only thought about you. About your happiness. About your escape. I never was a person to you. I was just an obstacle. The officer by the door cleared his throat. Time's up, sir, he said. I stood up. Linda looked at me with something resembling desperation. What is going to happen to me? She asked. They are going to put me in jail, aren't they? You tried to commit fraud, I told her. You forged documents. You conspired to steal over $500,000. Yes, Linda, you are going to go to jail, and you deserve it. But I have the boutique, she said. I have customers. I have responsibilities. I can't simply disappear. How were you going to make me disappear? I reminded her. How were you going to leave me with nothing on the other side of the world? You didn't worry about my responsibilities, so why should I worry about yours now? 2 officers entered the room. One was a woman. They approached Linda with handcuffs. Mrs. Miller, the officer said, you have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in a court of law. You have the right to an attorney. She continued reading her rights while they put on the handcuffs. Linda didn't resist. She just let them lift her off the sofa, lead her toward the door. When she passed by me, she looked at me one last time. I'm sorry, she whispered. No, you're not, I told her. You're just sorry you got caught. They took her out of the house, put her in the patrol car. The neighbors were still watching from their windows. The scandal of the year on our quiet street, Linda Miller arrested. What will they say at the club? What will they say at church? What will they say, all the people who thought we were the perfect marriage? Detective Miller approached me. I need you to come to the station tomorrow, he told me, to sign more documents, to expand your statement, and to talk about the legal process coming up. It's going to be long. It's going to be exhausting. Are you prepared for that? I nodded. As prepared as I can be, I said. David touched my shoulder. Come to my house tonight, he told me. Don't stay here alone. It's not healthy. I need to be here, I told him. I need to process all this in my space, in my own way. I understand, he said, but if you need me, call me at any hour. I will, I promised. Everyone left. The patrol cars, the detective, my brother, one by one until I remained alone in my house. The house I almost lost. The house that now seemed bigger, emptier, quieter than I remembered. I walked through every room, the kitchen where Linda cooked, the living room where we watched movies, the bedroom where we slept. Everything was exactly the same as this morning, but nothing was the same. Every object, every piece of furniture, every detail now carried the weight of betrayal. I found photos of us on the dresser, smiling, hugging, happy, or pretending to be. I took one. It was from our 10th anniversary. We had gone to an expensive restaurant. We toasted with wine. We told each other we loved each other. But in that moment, Linda had already been with Robert for 13 years. She had already decided I wasn't enough. She was already planning her escape. I ripped the photo. The glass shattered on the floor. Then I broke another, and another, until all the photos of our life together were destroyed on the floor. Broken glass, torn paper, lies shattered to pieces. I sat on the bed, our bed, where we had slept together for 22 years since we bought this house, where we had talked about dreams, plans, the future. All a lie. All acting. All wasted time. I took out my phone. I had messages, one from Sarah. I hope you are okay, Mr. Arthur. If you need to talk, I am here. You are not alone, I replied. Thank you for saving me. Not just financially, emotionally. If I had gotten on that plane, I don't know if I would have survived what came next. She replied fast. I did the right thing. And you did too. Now comes the hard part, rebuilding. But you will make it. I know you will make it. I left the phone aside, looked at the ceiling. I thought about Turkey, about the trip I never took, about the 14 hours I should have spent in the air while my life was being destroyed beneath me. I thought about what it would have been like to land in Istanbul, excited, tired, ready to explore, and then turn on my phone, see the messages, call the bank, discover the truth. It would have been devastating, paralyzing. Maybe I wouldn't have survived. Maybe Linda knew that. Maybe that's why she chose that strategy. Send me far away, where I couldn't react fast, where the shock and distance would keep me immobile long enough for her to disappear completely. But it didn't work. Thanks to Sarah. Thanks to a woman who barely knew me but had the courage to intervene, to risk her job, her time, her comfort to save a stranger. Tomorrow I would go look for her, to thank her properly. Maybe invite her to lunch, hear her story, understand why she decided to help me when she could have simply ignored what she found. But tonight I just needed to be alone, to feel the pain completely, to cry if necessary, to scream if necessary, to collapse in the privacy of my house so I could get up tomorrow stronger, more prepared, ready for what was coming. I woke up at 5 inches the morning. I hadn't slept well. Nightmares. Images of Linda and Robert laughing at me. Of me in the Istanbul airport, no money, no home, nothing. I got up with my body aching, as if I had fought all night. In a way, I had against my own thoughts, against the reality I didn't want to accept. I made coffee. I sat in the kitchen watching the sunrise through the window. The city was waking up slowly. People going to work, kids waiting for the school bus. Normal life. While I tried to understand how to continue with mine, my phone rang. It was David. You woke up early, he said to me. Me too. I couldn't sleep thinking about all this. How are you? I don't know, I answered honestly. I feel everything at the same time. Rage, pain, relief, confusion. It's exhausting. It's normal, he told me. You are processing a huge betrayal. Your brain needs time. But listen, today we have to go to the station to sign papers, and afterward, you need to go see a divorce lawyer. We have to start that process officially. Divorce. The word sounded strange in my head. After 28 years, that word had never existed in my vocabulary. Now it was my reality, my immediate future. "I'll pick you up in an hour," said David. "Eat some breakfast, even if you aren't hungry. You need energy for what's coming." We hung up. I tried to eat toast with butter. It tasted like cardboard. Everything tasted like nothing, but I forced myself to finish. David was right. I needed to stay strong physically, even if emotionally I was shattered pieces. Exactly at 7, David knocked on the door. I got in his car. He drove in silence for the first few blocks, then spoke. "Linda and Robert spent the night in separate cells," he told me. "Detective Miller called me early. He says Robert won't stop crying. He's begging for a deal. He's going to testify against Linda if they reduce the charges." "What a coward," I said. "They planned this together for months, maybe years, and now that they got caught, he wants to save himself alone." "That's how it works," David told me. "The one who talks first always gets a better deal. And it seems Linda still isn't saying anything. She asked for a lawyer. She is protecting herself. But Robert already sang everything. We arrived at the station. Detective Miller was waiting for us with more papers, coffee in hand, deep circles under his eyes. "Mr. Miller," he said, "I need you to read this. It is the full statement of Robert Bowers. It confirms everything. The messages, the plan, the forgeries, everything." I read for 20 minutes. Robert had confessed every detail. He said they met 25 years ago at a business convention in Las Vegas. It was love at first sight. Linda told him her marriage was unhappy, that she wanted to leave it but didn't know how. That over the years, that idea turned into a plan to take everything and start over. Robert explained that he had researched how to forge documents, that he had paid Jennifer, the corrupt paralegal, to prepare everything, that the Turkey trip had been Linda's idea. She said they needed many hours of lead time, that if she sent me far away, she would have enough time to execute everything before I could react. He also confessed they planned to change identities once they reached Myrtle Beach, that they already had fake IDs prepared, that they were going to vanish completely as if they had never existed, leaving me destroyed, alone, without a way to find them. I finished reading. I felt nauseous. The level of planning, of cruelty, of contempt for my life was incomprehensible. These people didn't know me. They didn't know the man who had been her partner for decades. They only saw an obstacle, something to remove, to be happy. "This is enough to prosecute them," said the detective. "Both are going to face severe charges. Linda for fraud, forgery, conspiracy to commit grand larceny. Robert for the same charges, plus identity theft. They are looking at between 8 and 12 years in prison, each. 12 years. Linda would be over 60 when she got out. Her boutique would be closed, her reputation destroyed, her life finished. Part of me felt satisfaction, justice, but another part, a small but persistent part, felt sadness. "Is there anything else?" asked the detective. "Linda wants to talk to you. She asked for a meeting with supervision." "Of course, she says she needs to explain something to you, something she didn't say yesterday." "I don't want to see her," I said immediately. "I have nothing else to say to her." "I understand," said the detective, "but consider it. Sometimes listening helps with closure, helps to process. If you change your mind, let me know." "I'm not going to change my mind," I said firmly. David and I left the station. He took me to the office of a divorce attorney, Natalie Sanders, a woman of about 50 with a serious but kind expression. We sat in her modern office, large windows, view of the city. "Mr. Miller," she told me, "your brother explained the situation by phone. I am so sorry for what you are going through, but I want you to know that legally you are in a very strong position. Your wife attempted to commit a crime against you. That facilitates the divorce enormously. There will be no division of assets. There will be no alimony. You keep everything because everything is legitimately yours." She explained the process. "File the suit, notify Linda in jail, wait the legal period, sign final papers. 6 months roughly, half a year to officially end what had lasted 28 years. We also need a restraining order," said Natalie. "When Linda gets out on bail, she cannot approach you, she cannot call you, she cannot try to contact you in any form. It is for your emotional and physical protection." I nodded. signed the papers she put in front of me. Every signature was one more nail in the coffin of my marriage. Every document was one more step toward my freedom. Freedom I didn't ask for, didn't want, but needed to survive. We left Natalie's office. David looked at me. "Are you hungry?" he asked. "Should we eat something?" "I'm not hungry," I said. "But let's go. I need to keep busy. I need not to think." We went to a Mexican restaurant near his house. We ordered tacos, beer, food I normally loved, but that day tasted like nothing. I chewed mechanically, swallowed without feeling. David tried to make conversation, but I answered with monosyllables. "Brother," he told me finally, "you need to talk to someone, a therapist, someone professional. This is too much to process alone." Maybe he was right, but the idea of sitting with a stranger and telling them how my wife tried to destroy me seemed unbearable. Not yet. Maybe later, when the pain isn't so sharp. My phone rang. It was Sarah. "Mr. Arthur, I hope I'm not bothering you. I just wanted to know how you were, if you needed anything." "I'm surviving," I answered. "Thanks to you." "I still can't believe you did what you did." "Why? Why did you risk so much for me?" "Because it was the right thing," she said simply. "Because I saw those documents and I knew someone was going to get hurt, and I couldn't stay quiet. My father taught me that when you see injustice, you have to act. So I acted. I would like to take you to lunch," I told her. "To thank you properly. When all this calms down a bit. Does that sound good?" "I would love that," she said. "I'll be waiting for your call." We hung up. David was looking at me with a strange expression. "What?" I asked. "That woman saved your life," he told me. "Not just financially, emotionally, spiritually. You owe her more than you'll be able to pay." "I know," I said. "And I'm going to spend the rest of my life trying to be the kind of person who deserves for someone to do something like that for him." We went back to my house at sunset. David insisted on staying a while. We sat in the living room watching TV without really seeing anything, just needing the company, the noise, something to fill the heavy silence. At 9 p.m. my phone rang. "Unknown number." I answered. It was Linda's lawyer. A woman named Veronica, with a professional and cold voice. "Mr. Miller," she said, "I represent your wife, Linda Miller. She asked me to transmit a message to you. She says she is sorry, that she never wanted to hurt you so much, that if she could turn back time she would do things differently. Tell your client," I replied with a controlled voice, "that I am not interested in what she feels now, that she had 25 years to do things differently, to be honest, to treat me with respect. And she chose to lie, cheat, steal. Now that she faces the consequences, she can't simply apologize and expect everything to be okay." The lawyer paused. "I understand," she said. "I will pass on your message. But Mr. Miller, my client is going to request bail. She will probably get out in a few days. I want you to be prepared for that. She is going to try to contact you. She is going to try to explain herself. I suggest you have your restraining order ready." "It's already in process," I said. "And if your client tries to approach me, I am going to call the police immediately." "Message received," said the lawyer. And hung up. David looked at me worried. "Linda is getting out on bail," he told me. "That means she's going to be free in this city. Maybe near you. Are you sure you don't want to stay at my house a few days?" "I'll be fine," I said. "I have the restraining order. I have the alarm on the house. And I have my phone. If anything happens, I call 911. "Okay," said David, clearly unconvinced. "But please, keep your phone close and tell me anything strange." "I promise," I said. David left at 10. I stayed alone again. I went through the house, checking doors, windows, everything locked, everything safe. I felt paranoid, but it was justified. My wife had tried to steal everything from me. Who knew what else she was capable of if she felt cornered? I lay on the sofa. I didn't want to sleep in the bed. That bed was contaminated, full of memories. I covered myself with a blanket, closed my eyes, and tried to rest. Knowing that tomorrow everything would continue, the papers, the meetings, the process of dismantling a life I believed was real. 3 days later, Linda got out on bail, $200,000 that her family paid. Apparently, her parents still believed in her innocence, or at least they wanted to believe it. David called me as soon as he found out. She's free, he told me. She got out this morning. Be careful. I already have the restraining order, I replied. She can't come within 500 yards. If she does, she goes straight back to jail. That doesn't always stop people, he warned me. Stay alert. The following days were strange. I went to work, came home, tried to maintain a normal routine, but everything felt artificial, as if I were acting the role of a functional person, when inside I was completely broken. My coworkers knew something. Rumors fly fast. They looked at me with pity, with curiosity. Some asked directly, others simply avoided the topic. I appreciated the ones who avoided it more. One afternoon I received a call from Detective Miller. We have a problem, he told me. Robert Bowers retracted his confession. He got a better lawyer. Now he says Linda manipulated him, that he didn't know he was committing a crime, that he only followed her orders. That is a lie, I said. In the messages, you can see clearly that they planned everything together. I know, said the detective, but now it's going to be his word against hers. A more complicated trial. Longer. Are you prepared for that? I'll do whatever is necessary, I responded. I'm not going to let them get away with it. That night I couldn't sleep. I thought about the trial to come. I would have to testify, tell the whole story in front of strangers, relive every painful moment, see Linda sitting there, listen to her lie, see her try to manipulate the judge, the jury, like she manipulated me for years. The next morning I went to see Sarah. We had agreed to lunch. It was the least I could do. We met at a quiet cafe near the airport. She arrived in her work uniform. She apologized for not having time to change. Don't worry, I told her. You saved my life. You can come dressed however you want. We ordered coffee and sandwiches. We talked. She told me her story. Widowed for 5 years, 3 kids already grown. She worked cleaning offices to pay the bills. A simple but dignified life. When I asked her why she risked her job for me, she shrugged. I saw those documents and I saw my cousin's name, she told me. Even though we hadn't seen each other for years, you are family, and family protects each other. Besides, I saw what your wife planned to do and it made me angry. Nobody deserves that. I thanked her again with tears in my eyes. She took my hand across the table. You are going to be okay, she told me. I know right now it doesn't look like it, but you will be. Time heals, and you are stronger than you think. 2 weeks later, the summons arrived. The trial would begin in 3 months. Linda faced formal charges: aggravated fraud, forgery of documents, conspiracy to commit grand larceny. If found guilty, she faced up to 15 years in prison. Natalie, my divorce lawyer, cited me. The divorce will proceed parallel to the criminal trial, she explained. They are separate processes but related. For the divorce, we have everything in our favor. She tried to rob you. That annuls any right she could have over shared assets. And if she is declared innocent? I asked, although I knew it was impossible with all the evidence. She will not be declared innocent, said Natalie firmly. There is too much evidence. Messages, documents, Robert's confession, even if he retracted it, testimonies. There is no way she gets acquitted. The question isn't if she will be declared guilty, but how many years she will get. I felt relieved, and guilty for feeling relief. Part of me still remembered the woman I met in college, the one who laughed at my bad jokes, the one who hugged me when I was scared. Had that woman ever existed, or had it just been another lie? The months passed slowly. Preparation for the trial, meetings with lawyers, depositions, papers. My life turned into an unending legal process. But with every day that passed, I felt a little stronger, a little freer. David convinced me to go to therapy. I found a psychologist, Dr. Danielle. We met once a week. At first, I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to relive the pain. But she was patient. She let me go at my own pace. And little by little, I started to let go. To cry, to scream, to process. She made me see things I hadn't wanted to see. That my marriage had been dead for years. That I had also been unhappy, but didn't want to admit it. That Linda wasn't the only problem. That I had ignored signs, had accepted crumbs of affection, had normalized emotional distance. It isn't your fault what she did, Danielle told me. But you can learn from this. You can grow. You can make sure that in your next relationship, if you decide to have one, it will be different, more authentic, more honest. Next relationship. The words sounded impossible. I couldn't imagine trusting someone again, opening my heart, risking myself. But Danielle assured me the moment would arrive, when I was ready, when I had healed enough. Finally, the day of the trial arrived. I entered the court with David and Natalie. Linda was sitting at the defense table. She looked different, thinner, without makeup, hair tied back. When she saw me, she didn't look away. She held my gaze with something resembling sadness, or maybe regret, or maybe just fear. The trial lasted a week. Testimonies, evidence, experts. I took the stand on the third day. I told the whole story, the surprise trip, the cleaning lady, the documents, the messages, every painful detail exposed in front of strangers. Linda's lawyer tried to make me look vindictive, exaggerated, but the evidence spoke for itself. Robert also testified. He tried to blame everything on Linda. He said she had manipulated him, that he was the victim. But under cross-examination, he contradicted himself multiple times. It was obvious he was lying, trying to save himself. On the last day of the trial, the prosecution presented closing arguments. They showed the WhatsApp messages blown up on a large screen. Every word of Linda and Robert visible to everyone. Their cruel plan, their contempt for me, their greed, all exposed. The jury deliberated for 6 hours. I waited in the courthouse hallway with David. I paced from one side to the other. I couldn't stand still. Every minute seemed an eternity. Finally, they called us back to the courtroom. The judge entered. Everyone stood up. The jury returned to their seats. The jury foreman was an older man with glasses. He held a paper in his trembling hands. The judge asked for the verdict. In the case of the state versus Linda Miller, on the charges of aggravated fraud, guilty. On the charges of document forgery, guilty. On the charges of conspiracy to commit grand larceny, guilty. Linda collapsed in her chair. Her lawyer put a hand on her shoulder. I didn't feel joy. I didn't feel satisfaction. I only felt a deep emptiness. Justice had been done, but that didn't bring back the 28 lost years. It didn't erase the pain. The judge scheduled sentencing for 2 weeks later. Linda was taken back to jail. When she passed by me, she looked at me one last time. "I'm sorry," she mouthed without sound. I didn't answer. I had nothing to say to her. 2 weeks later, we returned for sentencing. The judge reviewed the arguments, the evidence, the testimonies. Then he spoke directly to Linda. "Mrs. Miller," he told her, "you meticulously planned to destroy your husband's life, not out of need, not out of desperation, but out of greed and selfishness. You tried to leave him homeless, penniless, in a foreign country, unable to defend himself. That demonstrates a level of cruelty this court cannot ignore." Linda was crying. Her lawyer asked for leniency, spoke of her boutique, of her customers, of her family that needed her. But the judge was not moved. "I sentence you to 12 years in prison," he said, "without possibility of parole until serving at least 8 years. Furthermore, you must pay full restitution for all of Mr. Miller's legal expenses, and you will be barred from managing assets or bank accounts for 20 additional years after your release." 12 years. Linda would already be 62 when she got out. Her life as she knew it had ended. Her boutique would be closed, her reputation destroyed, her future with Robert non-existent. Robert had received sentencing a week before 10 years. Both would pay for what they tried to do. I left the court feeling strangely light, as if a huge weight had been removed from my shoulders. David hugged me. "It's over, brother," he told me. "Finally, it's over." The divorce was finalized a month later. Signing papers. Official division of assets which didn't need dividing because everything was mine. Change of marital status. After 28 years married, I was now officially single. The word sounded strange, but also liberating. I sold the house. I couldn't keep living there. Every room had ghosts, memories of a life that was never real. I bought a smaller condo near downtown. I started over, new furniture, different decoration. A life that was completely mine. Sarah and I became friends. We met for coffee every week. She became my confidant, my support, someone who understood what I had gone through without judging me, without pity, only with acceptance. One day, after 6 months, she told me something that surprised me. "Arthur," she told me, "you've changed. When I met you at the airport, you were broken, destroyed. Now I see you, and I see someone different, someone stronger, more authentic." She was right. The pain had transformed me. It had forced me to face uncomfortable truths about myself, about my choices, about my life. And even though I would never be grateful for what Linda did to me, I realized I had grown through the suffering. I started doing things I had never done. I took photography classes, something I always wanted to do but never had time for. I traveled alone to nearby places, discovering that I enjoyed my own company. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during years of marriage. 1 year after the day Sarah stopped me at the airport, I returned to that same place. Not to travel. Just to remember. To see where everything changed. I stood in the exact spot where she grabbed my arm. Where my life could have taken a completely different course. I thought about Turkey, about the trip I never took, about the 14 hours I should have spent in the air while my life fell apart beneath me. And I realized something. Sometimes the trip you don't take is the one that saves you. I took out my phone. I booked a flight, but this time not to Turkey, to Patagonia. I had always wanted to see those landscapes, those mountains. And now I could do it with my own money. On my own terms. Without lies. The night before my trip, I had dinner with Sarah. I told her about the flight, about my plans. She smiled. "I am proud of you," she told me. "Look how far you've come." "I wouldn't have made it without you," I told her. "You saved me in every possible sense." "You saved yourself," she responded. "I just gave you the information. You decided what to do with it. You decided to fight. You decided to rebuild. That was all you." We said goodbye with a long hug. I promised to send her photos of my trip. She promised to water my plants while I was away. Our friendship had become one of the most valuable things I had. At the airport, I passed the same counter where a year before I had been about to make the biggest mistake of my life. This time there was no cleaning lady grabbing my arm, no secret messages, no betrayal waiting for me. There was just a 3-year-old man ready to live his life authentically for the first time. I boarded the plane. I sat by the window. As we took off, I watched the city getting small beneath me. Somewhere down there, Linda was in prison, serving her sentence, living with the consequences of her decisions. I didn't feel hate toward her, nor forgiveness, just indifference. She no longer had power over me. The clouds covered the view. I closed my eyes, and for the first time in a year, I felt completely at peace. My life hadn't turned out how I planned. I wasn't married. I didn't have the house I built over decades. I didn't have the life I thought I wanted. But I had something better. I had my dignity, my truth, my freedom. I had a second chance to live authentically, to build a life based on honesty and not lies, to be truly happy and not just pretend to be. The plane leveled off. The flight attendant came by offering drinks. I asked for a red wine. I toasted with myself in silence. To surviving, to healing, to finding the courage to start over. I would land in Patagonia in 14 hours, and when I did, I wouldn't be arriving destroyed. I wouldn't be discovering I lost everything. I would be arriving free, whole, ready for the next adventure. Sometimes life saves you by stopping you just before you make an irreversible mistake. Sometimes a cleaning lady is an angel in disguise. Sometimes the worst day of your life is the beginning of something better. I looked out the window. Just clouds, just sky, just possibilities. And I smiled, because finally, after 53 years, I understood something fundamental. My life belonged to me, and no one would ever take it from me again.